Welcome friends to the class number 69. In the previous video, we have discussed the concept of FOIR. And now in this video, I will try to throw some light on the calculation of income for the purpose of FOIR. As I have told you in the previous video, the income concept and obligation concept is much wider than that of DS here because we can add the other business incomes or other individual incomes also in FOIR calculations. So what is the concept and what incomes can be taken and what are not? So there are two types of income. The one is the business income. Remember, the business income can be of your parent borrowing entity, and the business income can be of your sister concern and group concern also, because you can add their income as well. So the business income, when I'm talking about the business income, so the concept is same for any entity, right? So whenever you calculate FOIR, you calculate the business income as average of last two audited years. The last 2 years for each which ITR has been filed is only considered for the income calculation, and that to the average of last 2 years. So suppose the financial year 25 audit is still going on. So presently you have audited financial of financial year 23 and 24. So suppose you have business income of rupees 5,000 here and business income of rupees 10,000 here. So in the latest, someone will say, sir, I am earning now 10,000 rupees income, so my loan eligibility should be based on 10,000 rupees. So that's not how it works. Although it is purely bank's call, the bank can consider only 10,000 also. But what is the practice followed in majority of financial institutions is that they take average of these two incomes. They take 10,000 plus 5,000 divided by 2. So 7,500 will be your average income of last 2 years, which will be considered here. So why it is done? Why average income is considered? Because your FOIR calculation is done based on your past data, and you are going to get loan for next 10, 15, 20 years as a LAP or as a home loan. So the bank is essentially assuming that you will keep on earning this much of income in the next 15 years also, and that is a big risk to take, a big call to take. So that is why, in order to lower their risk, they become a bit conservative and they consider average of your last 2 years incomes, right? So your business income can be of a regular nature, which occurs every year in every ITR, and it can be of non-regular nature, which is one exceptional or one-time income, like you have received an insurance claim or you have done any profit on sales of investments, or that is not a regular type of income. Even if it is appearing in every year's profit and loss account, still these types of income are only exceptional based scenarios, so we cannot consider these incomes as regular incomes that will continue to flow in next 15-20 years also. So we do not add or we do not consider these incomes in our calculations. So now talking about the regular type of income. So these regular incomes, we include them in our calculations, first point. And now these regular incomes, in the DSCR concept, we have discussed that we will consider only operating income. So the regular income can be divided into operating income and non-operating income also. So the operating income will be considered as it is. The amount which is appearing will be considered at full for the eligibility calculation. But what about the non-operating income? So we will say, sir, what are the non-operating incomes? So non-operating incomes means, for example, you are doing the business of trading of ready-made clothes, right? So you have done some FD in the bank and you are receiving the interest from that FD regularly every year. So that FD interest, that interest that you are receiving is not a cloth business. That is a financial transaction. But since you are having a FD, a permanent FD, you are receiving every year interest on it, and the interest is booked as income in your balance sheet. So that is a non-operating income because it is not related to your ready-made cloth profit generation. And similarly, in the ready-made cloth business also, if you have given any godown on rent to a third party and you are receiving a rent from that third party every year, and you are showing that rental income in your profit and loss account, although it is not related to your ready-made garments business, but still it is a regular income which is flowing in your business, and it is not a type of exceptional or one-time income. So these are called non-operating incomes, which can include interest, rent, dividend also. So first you have to clearly satisfy yourself that these incomes are regular in nature. These are not one time in nature. So you have to check the profit and loss account, balance sheet, ITRs of the entity of past 2-3 years to see whether these incomes are appearing in every year's ITRs or not, and you can also cross verify the bank statement whether these incomes are appearing in the bank statement or not. So for example, now you are averaging the income of 23 and 24, and now after 31st March 2024, 15 months, almost 15 months, 16 months have gone by. So you have to check whether these incomes are getting received in past 12 months or not. If they are not, then you should not consider them as income in financial year 23 and 24 also, because these incomes have gone at present, right? If they are irregular, then okay, you can consider. But some banks are doing 50% of these incomes. We are doing average also, but if your income, gross income is 10,000, the bank is considering only 50% of it. It means 5,000 rupees as income, and 50% of it means 2,500 as income. So they are averaging 2,500 and 5,000 rupees, right? Because these are non-operating incomes, and they may not happen in the future as well. So the banks and some financial institutions are becoming more conservative on these types of incomes. So these are the business incomes. Now talking about the non-business income, similar to business incomes, these incomes are also averaged, all right? So if the non-business income is from any group concern, then you have to do calculation same as above that I have shown you. If the non-business income is earned at individual level, in your individual income tax return and at your individual level, so you have to see whether these incomes are regular or not. If they are not regular, for example, capital gains. Friends, even if the capital gain is appearing in every ITR, you are selling the shares, you are earning profit, you are selling your properties, you are earning profit or losses, still these capital gains income cannot be added for your FOIR calculation. You always have to exclude that income, right? So now the remaining part is the regular income. So you have to check, you have to satisfy yourselves that the income is actually regular in nature from the past year ITR, from your current year's data. So you can include this income as full amount if your bank policy allows, but some banks are more conservative, so they are taking 50% only of that income, right? So that you have to consider for your income calculation. And one more point, all those whose income is you have calculated and combined for your loan eligibility calculation shall be taken as co-applicants in the loan. And you may ask, sir, what is the difference between co-applicant and the guarantor? So there are two words, co-applicant, and we can also call them co-borrowers, and one word is guarantor. So friends, guarantor always has secondary liability in the loan. Secondary liability. For example, if someone has taken a loan, he is a borrower, and you have become a guarantor in the loan, and the borrower is responsible for paying off the debt. You are having second responsibility. So prime responsibility and first responsibility of the main borrower itself. If he defaults in the loan, then the bank will first go after him. They will try to recover as much amount as possible from him, and if he is not able to repay, then they will come to you. So they will knock your door second time. First they will knock the door of the main borrower only. But what happens in the co-applicant and co-borrower concept? Like borrower, you are co-applicant or co-borrower, you are equally responsible, equally and primarily responsible for payment of the debt. So in case there is default in the debt, the banks will come after you as well. They will simultaneously knock the door of your house as well, right? Not like guarantor where they will come second, right? So that is the difference between co-applicant and co-borrowers. All those incomes whose incomes that you have combined for loan eligibility will be marked as co-applicant and co-borrowers in the loan. It could be your group concerns, it could be your friends, everyone whose income is combined here, right? So that was the concept of income in FOIR calculation. In the next video, we will come up with some new topic. Thank you very much.